We are 22S Radio, the next wave of K-Beats. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3 Long Beach, Los Angeles. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Ropes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time tuning in to Beyond the Ropes, this is a talk show which focuses on professional wrestling and news within the industry. Well, unfortunately today, my co-host, he had an emergency, so he will not be here today. But, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, it's been a very rainy day today, so hopefully stay warm. Good luck on your classes, because finals are approaching. So, this is the first time actually having an episode where I'm on my own, but we will try to get through with a variety of different news topics. Typically, we also recap what went on televised episodes of wrestling, including, in particular, we have been discussing wrestling entertainment. Yeah. Recently, WWE had a pay-per-view, which is a Survivor Series. Now, Survivor Series to me is probably one of the most unique pay-per-views that World Wrestling Entertainment hosts. Why? Because it has a traditional match, the elimination style tag team match. I always found that fascinating because it was a cool concept where you have 5 wrestlers compete against 5 other wrestlers, and lately each year they probably put like a wager of like maybe like bragging rights. Years ago, WWE had another company that was their biggest competitor, owned by Ted Turner, Championship Wrestling. And of course, it went out of business. It was purchased, but at one time, it was its biggest rival. And Survivor Series was one of those unique concept pay-per-views that had a signature match. And every year they try to surprise us, and there was one particular surprise that was not expected. As you are familiar, perhaps, with the wrestler that went under the name Enzo appeared in the crowd, and in a unique disguise to blend in with the audience members. But that was quite the surprise. Now, there's a lot of things that have occurred lately in the industry, and mainly in World Wrestling Entertainment. What I find fascinating also is there is now a open door as well for mixed martial artists. We are seeing mixed martial artists make the transition from cage fighting to professional wrestling. Now, obviously, with cage fighting, there is 100% physicality and stuff like that. And yes, there are those who are like, wrestling's fake and this and that. And one of the things about that is, as one wrestler coined the phrase that it's like stuntmen who know how to act. So there are injuries that occur, and it's quite interesting that MMA fighters are making that transition, and in particular, one person who has revolutionized the transition and made it quite smooth is Ronda Rousey, who has transferred over to World Wrestling Entertainment and has been there for a while. And it's been pretty unique to see her in the women's division in wrestling. And I know there was a lot of skepticism at first, because they're like, oh, well, wow, like when somebody new or a celebrity like comes in and goes to wrestling and tries to, like, all of a sudden they give him the championship belt so quickly. There are those fans that are pretty stubborn. They're like, oh yeah, they just gave him the championship belt just because they're famous. But no, she's a legitimate athlete. Not only was she, in MMA, but she had so many different accolades. And it was quite cool to see that, she dedicated so much time to training. And she was in, she briefly made an appearance at first for WrestleMania with The Rock. And she had this scene with Stephanie McMahon, who, along with her husband, are pretty influential in the world of wrestling entertainment. And they pretty much help run the shows and help with character development and so forth to give us the show that we would like to see. There's always different surprises and so forth, so it's definitely great. And not that long ago, I believe in the last episode, we discussed how there are publications in professional wrestling, and one of them, there tends to be ranking systems to critique wrestlers and try to determine, or those editors determine, who they feel was like the top wrestlers of the year. And Ronda Rousey actually made it to #1 as one of the top professional wrestlers of the year. So that is that is pretty cool that she made such an accolade as a woman. In addition, we have so there's two brands. Basically, when World Wrestling Entertainment put World Championship Wrestling out of business, the owner, Vince McMahon, wanted to make sure that there was some competition still within the own company. He had two brand shows. One, obviously, has been the longest episodic show on television, one of the longest ones, and it's WWE Monday Night Raw, and it's wrestling on Monday nights. And so he has another one that's called WWE SmackDown, and SmackDown is another show that people can watch. So it is pretty unique to see the different shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Affordable, professional, and located on the second floor of the USA. Electric Hair has all of your nail and hair needs covered. For an appointment, call 562-958-4522. That's 562-958-4522.
Hi, I'm Natalie Valdez, and if you're interested in stories and media messages, tune into my show Behind the Narrative, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. We will break apart media objects from music videos to advertising campaigns in an attempt to understand the messages behind the content we consume. What elements best tell the story? Why do audiences react the way they do? We'll be asking these questions and more to get behind the narrative.
College student on the campus of Cal State University Road, I'm sure many of us have experienced the need for health services to continue to be like me. I know I have. One night I was playing basketball and I sprained my ankle pretty bad. The next morning I went over to our student health services to get my ankle checked out. I filled out the necessary paperwork and the student health services took care of it. The mission of student health services is to support students' physical and mental well-being through affordable quality health services and education. Student health services provide sensitive confidential healthcare services to a diverse campus community. The field of student health services are included in the tuition. For more detailed information concerning student health services, search csumlb.edu/SH.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Ropes, live on 22S Radio at California State University Long Beach. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, today my co-host is not here. I had an emergency, and so today we are continuing and discussing some latest in professional wrestling. It is pretty interesting. There has been talk about another promotion. One of the biggest wrestlers out there currently has been Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has been pretty much some of the wrestlers. There's been a term tossed around called independent contractors, and Cody is the son of a Hall of Famer by the name of Dusty Rhodes, the late great Dusty Rhodes. And after spending a couple of years within World Wrestling Entertainment, he decided to go to the Indies, and eventually he went to TNA, which is called Impact Wrestling at the time. And then he went to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is starting to get a lot more momentum. I really like the promotion that's going on with Ring of Honor. At one time, it was one of the hottest promotions out there. The up-and-coming stars who are building their own brand, they were going there, and they produced some of the top wrestlers that we know today in the bigger wrestling promotions. Like Daniel Bryan started there, and a few other names, Samoa Joe, CM Punk. There are a lot of big wrestlers out there who started in that brand, and although they don't have as much financial strength as the bigger corporations, we're starting to see a lot of bigger names take the time, even if it's just like a small short-term contract. They'll go there, and it's really helping Ring of Honor get exposure. And the great thing about these certain wrestling promotions is when they decide to form partnerships with outside wrestling organizations. In particular, Ring of Honor has also worked alongside with New Japan, and New Japan is really starting to get a lot of momentum, and it's a great thing for the business. We're starting to see a lot of times we've heard the phrase that it's healthy competition. Healthy competition leads to the bettering of the industry. What I think is pretty cool as of late also is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is one of those legendary wrestlers out there who he has a rock band, but he's found a way to be an entertainer and at the same time occasionally come back as a part-time wrestler. He's probably one of the few wrestlers out there that has managed to find a balance. When The Rock left, he focused pretty much completely on acting until now he's one of the biggest actors out there. And he came back occasionally. Sometimes it was only like maybe one match, but then there was a time when he got the world title, and thankfully he changed the look of the heavyweight title. When they put the belt on him, they decided to switch it because not a lot of fans were interested in the spinner belt that the Wrestling Entertainment had. It is definitely pretty interesting how they changed things for the World Heavyweight Championship. This has had prestige, it's been around for years, and I find it fascinating that Chris Jericho pretty much, he's found the balance that he's been able to act, and in addition he's had his band. So he's had his band, and he's done a lot of things as of late. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we have guest here. The mic is now on.
You turn this on here?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Rob, thank
Right.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, introduce yourself.
Well, I would assume that your following also is familiar with your Golden Spotlight radio show. I was on there.
Yeah.
Seems like it was a while ago, right?
Oh, yeah.
But my name is James Williams. I work for the Southern California News Group. I'm also co-president here on the Cal State Long Beach campus of the NABJ chapter, National Association of Black Journalists. So I'm happy to be here. I grew up a wrestling fan. I'm a sports journalist at the end of the day. A lot of other sports journalists, I guess you can say, grew up watching football, basketball, baseball, but for me, it was wrestling, and it still is wrestling today. So I am happy to be here talking wrestling with you. I hope I wasn't interrupting anything. I think you were talking about Chris Jericho.
Yes. Jericho, I find it fascinating that he's managed to balance, I think, the perfect balance than any other entertainer.
This is true. I mean, whether it's the podcast, I think he just finished the wrestling cruise. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah, the Rockin' Ranger.
Yes.
I was like, whoa.
I didn't even. I mean, I've never been on a cruise, but I'd be curious to see what he was charging for that. And it was. I think it was more than just wrestling, though.
Yes,
because
the cabins that Rey Mysterio has. I was like, what?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he posted on Instagram.
Well, because what I did see was, or what I had heard was like it was like comedy. So I know like Impractical Jokers. I'm an Impractical Jokers fan too.
Oh,
so.
Yes.
So like stuff like that would have been an awesome experience in itself. But just Chris Jericho, man. I mean, I think he's like pushing 50. I think he's at least 45. I think. How old is he? Do you know? He's like late 40s though, and he's still
finally
wrestling.
has the Intercontinental title there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the one for New Japan, right?
Yeah.
Did he ever defend it? Because he came in,
yeah,
he won it. But then I was listening to some podcasts. I don't follow New Japan that closely, but from what I heard was that he he won it, but then he never defended it. So did he ever defend it?
Yeah, I think he had one match recently.
Okay.
But it's been pretty interesting because he mentioned that he wrestled there 20 years ago. He never held a championship there.
Right. Before WCW probably?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't follow New Japan that closely, but I mean, the just with Chris Jericho in general, you can't avoid him and his project. So I am completely aware that he's doing his thing, and I guess he's worked up another gimmick, and I'm not sure how I feel about the gimmick. It looks a little it's not I mean, he looks like Dunk the Clown in a way. I don't know. I mean, Chris Jericho can make anything work, but it's a weird look. I mean, if they're into, I'm not familiar with the style and whatnot, but I mean, Chris Jericho's never had anything that he's done, and it hasn't been successful, so I'm not going to knock him too much for it.
I like that he's been able to do so much lately, but also build up people. He's not afraid to
That's right.
lose to people just to help them build their brand, like he did with Kenny.
I think you're absolutely right, and then, you see a lot of older guys come back. I mean, when you look at, I guess Goldberg, I was gonna say he let Kevin Owens beat him, but that's not true. I'm trying to think. Again, this goes to your point. I can't name someone off the top of my head who's recently come back and didn't put others over, to the degree they always came back to try and get themselves over. I think Sting might be one, but I think that was more with injuries. I think he would have done more matches.
I can't believe he never had that Undertaker match.
I would have been good. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of glad that they didn't try and force it at this stage of their career. Because who's carrying who, but I don't think that's the right thing there to say. I think it would be a matter of you're not getting them at their best, at their prime. If you got them at their prime, I think that would be something else for sure. I think that could have been some box office stuff, and the build up and the promos and everything leading up to it, all the crows and the tombstones and the graveyards, and it would have been some dark stuff, that's for sure.
But leave it to Triple H, so want to make sure he had his match with him
I know,
first.
right? And I mean, and the fact that Triple H, you gotta let the guy go over. Like, Sting has to win the first match, and then you can bring, I know that WrestleMania, you gotta have that second match, and then he can lose to Triple H there. What is it like? The next one's like
Seth Rollins, he competed against him, that was it.
right. Well, but then Seth Rollins is the one who I guess hurt him. He got hurt in that match, and that's why it got cut short. And I was thinking about that like a few weeks ago. I'm like, man, Sting was in the Hall of Fame, and the whole thing with Sting and why he didn't come in prior, like after WCW closed down, was because he looked at the way that Booker T and others were being treated right after they were brought in, and it was like he wasn't really feeling it because they were being they were the WCW guys and they were being treated as such. So
yeah, I think when Booker T first went in, he kind of was in this comedic stage with Goldust.
Yeah, he kind of because he came in with Austin, so he came in on top.
With the Lions for a bit.
Right, and then you're right. I think shortly after that, he did get put with Goldust, and then it was kind of like
comedic spots.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. And but to be honest though, those were some good spots. Those were good times. The fact that we remember and talk about it still, at least some of us do, I think still says a lot. I like Booker T.
I like when he had the best of 5 series stuff.
Oh yeah. I remember that. That was good. I don't know. I mean, I could talk to you all day about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just started listening to Eric Bischoff's podcast. I don't know if you.
No, I haven't listened.
Do you listen to the Bruce Pritchard one?
I have. I've seen the.
The show on the network.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
I listen to the podcast, so those are really good. So I'm like diehard into that, especially because it's like WWE. I have a long car ride here, like an hour and a half. So I'm burning through my podcast, so I had to start uploading some of those Eric Bischoff ones, and I'm starting to listen to them. They just got done talking about the finger poke of doom, where Kevin Nash took a bump over being poked by Hulk Hogan and won the title for the 1,000th time, I'm sure. But yeah, so I'm getting into those podcasts. So it's funny just that we're here talking about WCW. I know you were talking about Ronda Rousey when I stopped by a little bit earlier.
I was very surprised.
What were the rankings you were talking about?
She made it number 1
for like the
I think
Dave Meltzer.
PWI,
Okay, they still do that. Huh? I remember that from back in the day.
I was like,
But
I figured fans would be like, but she hasn't been there that long. But
so okay, wait. So was this number 1? Oh, number 1 for the year.
yeah, overall, you know how they rank them. So that's pretty interesting.
I don't know how I feel about it. Who was like number 2, number 3? Do you have?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I just saw that was like a headline article thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why. Well, okay, so this isn't this is independent. This is like some wrestling journalist. So, I mean, I guess I can see why they made her number 1 because of the star power she brings and all that. So I can see that. I mean, I guess I can get behind it. I would like to know who the other ones were. I haven't been watching the last few episodes of Raw or SmackDown. I mean, I watched the Survivor Series, so I have that.
I heard about Enzo making that disguise appearance.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't see it on camera, but then I'm always on Twitter. You can follow me at JHW Reporter.
Have you seen his Instagram lately?
Well, hold on a second, because to the Twitter real quick that's where I saw it happen, like moments I guess after he was like taken out, and then he was tweeting like right away. I thought for sure he was gonna get arrested or something, but he was literally like 15 minutes after like the whole thing happened, he was like tweeting and like.
I think he was supposed to go perform like at a event
in Independent or something, Pro Gorilla. I'm forgetting the name of it, but yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing with Enzo is he was on Steve Austin's podcast recently, and he sounded all right. Because part of me thinks like, I don't know, maybe this is bad to say, but I felt like he would have been drugged out, taking drugs.
I think the last time he was in a ring, he posted photos too, and he revealed like he had purple all around him.
Like he got bruised up.
Yeah. From
really?
his time in WWE, because he didn't really have time to like heal.
To heal?
Yeah.
Like below the waist, kind of?
It was like all like upper.
Okay.
From the hip all the way up.
Because I'm just thinking, like, Enzo never really wore a shirt in the ring when he's performing, so it's kind of like, I don't know. But I mean, that's happened. I mean, that was like the whole CM Punk thing, right?
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about.
Uh-huh.
Actually, did you have anything you wanted to add first? Because I know you mentioned Enzo and the Instagram thing. Was there something more you wanted to?
No, just that was a surprise.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm jumping all over the place because I'm really excited to be here talking wrestling with you. I've been wanting to do this for a while. The David Arquette thing. Did you see that?
I heard that he went to the Hollywood wrestling promotion.
And then he did like the deathmatch thing, and he almost like cut his neck. He didn't do it on purpose, obviously, but like I think he literally almost died because he. What did he? Oh, you know, like these, like the light bulbs right here in this room. They had them like lined up, like I think on some chairs or something, and he like. I forgot who he was wrestling, but he did like a suplex or something on those light poles, and the glass like cut his neck. Wow. Like, and he almost like died, I think. So. How crazy would it have been if somebody ran in with a scream mask? Jeez. Hey, that's a former WCW world champion. To many people's. I guess that was the. If anything was the downfall of WCW there, but I mean, hey, maybe he'll go to the celebrity wing one day. I'm kind of in a way. Well, I was saying in a way, I'm kind of surprised he isn't. And he's been. I think he's been. I think he was one of those special guest managers or GMs on Raw when they were doing that whole thing, bringing a celebrity. So I never knew that Freddie Prinze Jr. when he was a guest general manager, he actually was working for WWE for quite some time. Yeah, prior to that, I didn't know that at the time, but again, listening to the Bruce Pritchard podcast because he would work on the writing team with Bruce Pritchard. I didn't know that either. So that was fascinating to see he was mentored by Vince and stuff. Yeah. And that's weird. Like, I've heard that there was like there was another like comedian or something that I think tried to do it. I mean, when I think of Freddie Prinze, I think he's the son of obviously a famous actor generations before us. But he was Fred from Scooby-Doo. So I mean that as far as I know is his biggest career moment. I think he's done some other stuff, I'm sure. Other than I know what he did last summer, I don't remember what. I think he was in that too. But I don't know, whatever is going on. But yeah, I do remember that. He was hearing about that. But I think they tried to ask him like what were like some of the biggest things he did as far as contributing during his time working there, and I don't think there was like really anything significant. But yeah, no, he worked there. So I mean that's just cool and an experience in itself, I'm sure. Obviously coming from the acting world and whatnot, I'm sure the wrestling industry was proven to him as a whole different monster, as we all know. So, yeah. We're going to take the second commercial break and we'll be right back. Yeah, I just came back in because I was texting you, but I figured obviously you were going to get your phone. I was going to meet with Todd and Alexis.
Did you know that more than students on Cal State campuses?
Alexis couldn't come, so I just told Todd, we can chat later, because she was the one who set the meeting. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and talk to Rob, because I've been wanting to do your show for a while, and I saw Ethan wasn't here, and I felt bad for leaving. And I was like, I was struggling. That's what I figured. I mean, I'm sure you've done it solo several times, but I was looking for a commercial. Like even when I have the show that's by myself, though, at least I have like guests, and I could look for the commercials. So that's what makes it different. Gotcha. So it's kind of hard to like try to search and like try to talk. Right. Oh man. What do you have, like another hour? Or 30 minutes, I mean? No, just like maybe like 5 minutes, because my teacher, she said I can't be late anymore. Oh, yeah. The class starts at 11. Cool. Because I was going to say, I could try and make up some like other topics for you if you need to. That's why I was just winging it. I was just like throwing topics at you and stuff, but I was like, I think he just wants to get through the show, so I was like, I could help him do that. That's not a problem. But, pull up that list if you can. The Ronda Rousey PW, because I want to see, because I remember them talking about it on the podcast before.
And artists. It's a party that you're invited to every Thursday from 1 to 3, only on 22 West Radio at 22westmedia.com.
Do you have wipes I can wipe these down with after? I'm sweating.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Ropes. You know how many times I accidentally almost think I'm going to say welcome to the Golden Spotlight.
I mean, at least it's your own show. You know, you're getting your branding in there still. You're not doing it at the right time if you were to mess up. But at least you're being consistent with your own brand and you're not naming off some other show. So, hey, that's all that matters, right? As long as you're consistent. But, during the break, I was asking you to bring up that PWG list because I am curious to see like who the top 5 were. And more importantly, like I feel like it was kind of sudden that they dropped, or that they had AJ drop the belt on SmackDown. So I'm kind of curious to see where he landed.
So right now 2017 popped up, but it's interesting because last year's was Oscar.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember listening to a podcast, and I remember AJ Styles was number 1. Maybe it was a different ranking. Maybe.
Oh yeah, they ranked the guys separately, and then they ranked the women. Okay, so number 2 was Alexa.
Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
I think she's great. I think she's still kind of underrated in a way, but I like her because it's like, I mean, you have Asuka, you have Charlotte, you have wrestlers, and that's a big thing now, obviously. And I think Alexa can do that, and I think it's just kind of cool because I watched NXT. Not really, like not a lot, but I caught like the last maybe year before she got called up, and so she was like a manager. So I never really thought she would have been anything. Just based on what I saw.
I the attire that she was going with the whole like
cosplay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they still do that, right? Because I think even at the Evolution pay-per-view, they did the Queen of Spades or something like that. Her, Mickey, and Alicia Fox, I think, did some combo like that.
I'll never forget that match Alexa has where her arm broke. And you could kind of see it like flopping, like the bone was like moving or whatever.
What
like,
are you talking about?
Alexa Bliss.
The one with Ronda Rousey, she's like flexible.
Way back. A match that Alexa Bliss had with somebody, I forgot what it was.
Wait, was this in NXT?
No, and I think it was SmackDown or something like that. But
I missed it.
It was like a freak accident, and the match I think went on still. Like she held her arm. To keep it from like flopping the other way, and like she finished the match.
That's crazy. I don't think
like that's quite the athlete right there.
That's crazy. Do you have like the men's list there, even if it was from like a previous year? Because I'm curious to see how they rank. Because I think, I think the last year's ranking wasn't AJ for the men. It wasn't AJ at number 1. I think it was Kenny Omega, and I think it was like Kenny Omega, and it was like this big thing because it was the first like New Japan guy or someone that was in WWE that was like number 1. And then I think prior to that, it was like all WWE guys for like 20 years or something. But yeah, I think I kind of wish Kenny Omega.
Second straight.
What?
That non-WWE.
Yeah, is that number 1?
Yeah.
Is it Kenny Omega again?
Yeah, second year in a row.
Really? Because I feel like this year's, especially on like not the non-WWE scene, it's been more Cody Rhodes that I'm hearing about more than
Cody made the Ring of Honor list.
Okay, so what? Ring of Honor has their own list. Okay, but for the PWG one, where's Cody at? Because he I guess Kenny was part of that too of the
AJ's number 2.
The All In pay-per-view. So I think Cody would have had to have been higher. Is this 2018?
Cody's 8.
Is this 2018?
Yeah, Cody made number 8.
Only number 8, huh?
You know, it's something when the part-timer Brock Lesnar is higher.
Oh, really? Well, see, that's why things like that are all subjective in a way because
At
it's
the
just
very least, Okada made it above Brock.
Right. I'm familiar with Okada too. I'm not familiar with his work, but I'm familiar with the name, so I know he's deserving to be up there based on what people say about him. Who else is on that list?
So
just say it in order if you have it all in front of you.
Kenny, AJ, Okada, Brock, Seth, Braun, Roman, Cody, Tetsuya Naito, and Miz. That's all they have right now in the top 10.
So they have in the top 4 or 5 guys. You have AJ Styles and then Brock Lesnar. Like for WWE guys, like is Brock Lesnar the second?
Brock is number 4.
Oh, that's sad.
But at least they got Kenny up there.
That's kind of sad though, because I mean, Brock's only there part time. See, that's why you could tell that list is totally like based on like the ratings or whatever. Like No, it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. When Brock Lesnar wants to work, he can work. So I'm not knocking that, but it's
But I
like
mean, then
he's not
again,
working every day.
because he's so legit of a great
Right.
athlete, but he like kind of has to remember, hey, like tone down the strength.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
I
So
heard, I think he
yeah,
almost messed up the Singh brothers.
he did. Well, he did. He
Yeah,
entered
with
one of them
the-
and ruined like Jinder's whole gimmick with them.
Suplex City is,
And he
nobody
was-
wants to go there.
No, I mean, well, that was the thing. Did you watch Survivor Series? Did you see the
Nah,
match?
I didn't get to.
Okay.
The-
So with Daniel Bryan, I was like really concerned because he was coming off this whole concussion thing, right? And like his career being over, and then here he is doing Suplex City. Like, I'm like, please don't break that man's neck, because then that'd be tragic, and then he'll be paralyzed. You don't want that.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, time goes by so fast,
It really
and
does.
my teacher told me I cannot be late no more, so I have to cut it short.
All right. So you'll be here again at
Yes.
10 next week.
Yeah, 10 o'clock every day, but it's just that my show starts, my class starts at 11, and it's been a hybrid, but the last time I was late, the teacher's like, I'm gonna come in late, please.
She was wagging her finger at you and telling and giving you
Yeah.
that look like you better
So,
show up on time, and I get you. I'm in the same boat. I got class too.
takes
Don't
time
worry.
to put the camera away and stuff.
We'll get through. We're gonna graduate. We're getting there. We're working on it.
Woo!
Anyways, proud of you, Rob. I will talk to you very soon. Thank you for having me.
Until next time, folks.